Welcome to No Time Like Joe Time, where we use media to see the wisdom in life that we forgot, often thanks to TikTok. I'm your host, Joe Johnson, and every week I have a new guest on the show to help me analyze all we can from these clips. This week, I'm excited to have probably one of the coolest people I know, my friend, Adam Stout. Hey, Adam, you are never going to guess what I got into.
What is it?
I got a gig as a DJ.
Ooh.
It's crazy. I've been meddling in the DJ world. I bought me some new equipment. I believe it's called the Pioneer Press.
I think that might be a newspaper. You mean the Pioneer DJ XDJRR? Is that what you were talking about? Or because that's a good one.
Adam, making things up won't make you seem any cooler. Look, just listen to the 2-week master over here. I think I know what makes a good DJ. It's someone who listens to the people and what they want.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
You see, Adam, I have the burden of doing really being a channel to all music deities. Some people call it a rock god or a living legend.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not one to deny these. They are just what I assume people are saying about me.
All right. Sounds pretty impressive. And I do have some good music.
I know, like, you're like most people. You think you know what you want, but when I set up the DJ sanctuary, what I play really changes the world. I know it must be a little intimidating to be in my presence, but I'm just like anyone else. I put my pants on one leg at a time. Except when I put them on, I go play for one of the hottest clubs in the city. Oh, no, he didn't.
Okay. Well, as I was saying,
I suppose you want to hear my sickly beats. Well, no problem there, duder. Let me drop down a beat for you. I don't know about you, but
So, all right, that's what you're going to play. Is that for Casimir Pulaski Day? I mean, I don't know if that's even quite working for St. Patrick's Day, but anyway, yeah. I think if you're going to play the club that you're talking about, you might want to look at your audience.
Okay.
Before choosing that song.
You know, I'm always welcoming constructive criticism. That's fine. But two things. First, my grandparents thought that beat was hopping. Okay. And second, do you think you can do better?
I mean, I don't know about that, but I'll give it a shot.
I can hear the sound, I can hear the beat. I can feel the bass, I can feel the heat. I can sing along, I can shout and scream. I can feel it taking over me. Ooh la la la, ooh la la la. Hey, hey, ooh la la la, ooh la la la. Hey, hey, ooh la la la, ooh la la la.
Well, that was lame. How'd you do that?
Well, I have been trying to tell you that I'm a DJ, but you keep interrupting.
Well, I wish you would have said that sooner, but trust me, I got this. What up? This is DJ Joe Fluff Fluff. Now that I say that out loud, that sounds terrible. Anyways, let's hit this music and get ready to fluff. Oh, that's horrible. Music.
You suck.
Adam, is that you? Well done. You're a natural improviser.
I mean, I did do radio spots when I was like in first grade, so kind of a big deal. I still remember like my parents would give me a action figure if
Yeah.
I did it, so that was an easy win.
Yeah. I
Still, yeah.
I think on every opening I say this, I always take my inspiration from Conan O'Brien, where he always like really committed to the bits, like, no, this is really happening. So I always like to take that. And my hope someday is somebody listens to a podcast and they don't realize we do a bit at the beginning. And they're just like, that dude really just play polka music? Is he serious? So thank you for being here. I'm so excited just to talk to you and have you here. I think you are genuinely one of the coolest people I know, because you've got just such a big heart for helping people and caring for people. And you're not afraid to really just stand up for what you believe. And I have an immense amount of respect for you.
Well, I love you too. So glad to be here.
Yeah. And like, so the one thing that's not a bit from the beginning, you really are a DJ.
Yeah, but I'm not like Steve Aoki or Skrillex or something. I mostly do weddings and play for people who, aren't looking for the beat to drop.
Yeah. I've been to, I think, one wedding you've DJ'd, and it was very fun. So I definitely have my compliments. It's funny, like that whole, like not taking the time to listen. It reminds me of this time. So when I was dating my now wife, Rachel, on our third date, I was like, hey, do you want to go hit golf balls on the range? And she was like, yeah, sure. And I immediately went into, well, I played quite a bit of golf. I'm actually really good. And my experience with golf is that, like, I'd occasionally go to the driving range. When I was younger, I'd go to Arizona, and my grandparents made their own course in the desert. So, like, nice. I didn't play a lot of golf, but compared to the average person, like, I was pretty talented. So we get to the driving range. We're getting set up. I'm like, God, I'm going to wow this girl. First hit she does, it's just like a perfect blast, goes flying straight. I'm like, I was pretty good. And she's like, oh yeah, I was on the golfing team in high school. It's like, crap. Then I had to be like, well, that stinks.
You'd impress me though. I'm terrible at golf.
Yeah. Anybody else? Anybody else?
But Rachel, not so much.
Yeah.
She will lead you.
She was like, you. Yeah, and then she kind of gave me some sympathy points, like I'd hit it and like slice it, and she was like, that I was good. Like,
that was a nice shot. You're trying really hard.
Yeah. And it also reminds me, she is. It also reminds me of this clip from Ted Lasso, which is a great show that I think we should watch. But before we get into it, a little bit about Ted Lasso. It's an amazing TV show. It's on Apple TV. Yeah. And it's about basically a football coach, American football coach, college football coach, I should say, who gets brought over to coach a soccer team that people are like obsessed with, and he has no experience with soccer. And it's so delightful. I don't want to give away much, but it's inspirational. It's wonderful. Adam, what has been your experience with Ted Lasso? When did you start watching it, and what have you thought of it so far?
I mean, I hope they do some kind of reunion because I loved it so much.
Yeah.
And I knew they were just going to do 3 seasons of it. So
yeah,
by the time they got to season 2, I was already hoping that they're going to change their mind, but they didn't. So
yeah,
this was one of the rare shows that I actually got the Apple Plus, the subscription for just for this show.
Yeah.
And tried to watch it once a week. That was sort of how it was designed, so that you just watch it once a week instead of binge watching. So this is one of those rare,
totally.
rare shows anymore that I waited at least a week in between watching.
Yeah. No, it's definitely good. And my history with it is you actually are the one who got me into this. And because we went out for either breakfast or something, and you told me about the scene we're going to watch. And I was like, that sounds pretty cool. And then my wife and I did a free trial. We just watched every episode. So we have to get it one more time because we haven't watched the final season.
Ooh,
but I'm very excited too.
It's a treat. It doesn't drop off.
Oh, good. I am, it kind of reminds me of a lot of UK shows that only do 3 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
So it reminded me a little bit of that. But yeah, so I'm going to pull up the first scene and we can kind of watch that and then talk about it. So quick set up to the scene. So Ted is with the owner of the team, who she got the team in a divorce from her husband, and her husband, Rupert, is kind of a jerk, and they're playing darts with Ted, and kind of for if Ted wins, Rupert can't go in the VIP box. If Rupert wins, he gets to decide the lineup on the team. So here it is.
Shut your stupid little twat mouth or I will shut it for you.
Shall I be giving you the lineup card now, Ted? I shall be putting Yobasanya back on defense where he belongs.
That's exactly what I said, didn't I?
No, it's not all Ted's fault. My ex-wife's the one who brought the hillbilly to our shores. I know she's always been a bit randy, but I never thought she would fuck over an entire team.
Hey! Better manners when I'm holding a dart. Please. Mate, what do I need to win?
2 triple 20s and a bullseye.
Good luck.
Rupert, guys have underestimated me my entire life. And for years, I never understood why. It used to really bother me. But then one day, I was driving my little boy to school, and I saw this quote by Walt Whitman. It was painted on the wall there. It said, "Be curious, not judgmental." I like that. So I get back in my car, and I'm driving to work, and all of a sudden, it hits me. All them fellas that used to belittle me, not a single one of them were curious. They thought they had everything all figured out, and so they judged everything, and they judged everyone. And I realized that they're underestimating me. Who I was had nothing to do with it. Because if they were curious, they would ask questions. Questions like, have you played a lot of darts, Ted? Which I would have answered, yes, sir. Every Sunday afternoon at a sports bar with my father from age 10 till I was 16 when he passed away. Barbecue sauce. Good game, Rupert.
Come on, let's go.
You are a very lovely consolation prize. Rebecca, Ted, enjoy your evening. Mate, as always.
Holy shit, that felt good.
That was fun, yeah. Only one thing left to do now.
What's that? Do I have to? Drinks on me!
Good one.
Oh, so many awesome things about that. I love, for one, how Ted never sinks to Rupert's level.
Mm-hmm.
Stays positive and doesn't belittle him either when he wins. He just does his thing. And
a little bit of a mic drop moment.
yes. Yeah, exactly. And what I always kind of think about for this, with the curious question, for me, the curious one is, when I was growing up, I always watched The Simpsons. And the church I grew up in, that was kind of whoa, you watch The Simpsons? And so a lot of people would always be like, why would you watch that? It's not a good show. What they didn't know is that a lot of time, most of my childhood, my dad and I's relationship was pretty strained. But the one thing we bonded over was The Simpsons. So whenever I watch The Simpsons with my dad, some of the fondest memories I have.
Yeah. Yeah, that idea of being curious, not judgmental. Why do you love The Simpsons, or why are you watching it? You might not have even identified it at the time, but that it was a way to bond, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's almost always something good, like even in shows or even in things that we would generally look down on. Like a friend of mine was doing or he wrote a book recently. It's called Forged. And he was in a gang when he was younger, and people used to always think, how do you let that happen to you? Like all the initiation process where you get beat up and that sort of thing. And he was like, well, before you just judge the gang for its faults, which it has many, like there's a lot of things the gang does well, right? Like giving you a place to belong, giving you a sense of identity, a sense of purpose that's bigger than yourselves, and a family, essentially, that you might not have on your own. And for him, he did it. So again, being curious is the first step to learning.
Yeah, I think that's really good. I think it's a really powerful point. I know I went to college with somebody who he was in prison a lot of his life. And he talked about the reason he would get in trouble was because prison was predictable. He knew he was going to get 3 meals a day. He knew he was going to have a bed to sleep on. And so it just like, I think a lot of times in so much community, you know, people can be quick to judge and see, and it's like, it's tough. If it was easy, we'd all be curious.
Yeah.
But
and
I think
he's quoting
it's
Walt Whitman, right?
Yeah.
Who was, I mean, when Walt Whitman was famous and writing, he was also one of the only gay poets that actually was known to be gay, and didn't give up on helping others to see the beauty of what he saw.
Yeah.
Although the first time I read Walt Whitman, I was like, this guy doesn't rhyme. What is this crap? But later I was like, wow, it's so profound. And like, he does such a masterful job of just capturing and recapturing little moments and little patches of beauty around. But yeah, I mean, for him, I'm sure that he seemed like he was curious. And for Ted to quote him, I liked that was who he chose.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one thing that maybe gets lost, curious doesn't always mean you have to agree. Just to understand. I know one thing for me, like my family has been away from church for a while, and we've been like, I want to get back, but part of the reason is I don't see a lot of curiosity at church. Don't get me wrong. There's some people who do it darn well, but there's just also not a lot of curiosity on what's going on. And it's just so quick to go to the truth, to be like, oh, this is the truth, they're wrong. And for me, it's difficult because it's like, if we're not curious, we can never open a door for them to come in. And I think Ted just does that so well. I mean, if you got to know Ted, he would be an amazing guy.
Curiosity is not one of the main tenets usually of Christianity, or most churches, outside of the very beginning stages, where I feel like churches do a pretty good job of saying like, all right, let's, like the Alpha course that we did together.
Yeah.
I don't know if we need to put context with that, but
we can
course together online during the pandemic. And it was, I thought, a great experience, but there was more of a open-ended discussion part to it, and more of a like call for curiosity. So
yeah, definitely.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, I think one thing I've learned through that and through talking to a lot of people are open to talking about faith. They just don't want to be dictated to what to believe.
Yeah, because there's just so much that even the greatest theologians, I think the best ones are the ones that continue to be excited and curious about what God is saying, even if they can recite the scriptures forward and backwards. They can,
Yeah.
Parse out the Greek and Hebrew. Still, there are people who are coming up with new understandings as they explore, as they're open to growing, really. So I think the church generally is seeing some fallout from not being curious.
Yeah.
And it's losing a lot of the people that are.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And we were talking to before we started to record that both of us are kind of in, for easiest context to say, social services, where we work with people who, are going through it and need extra support. And we're talking about like, just, it's tough to find people for that because the money's not there. And so I think people like us, or I should say people who are in that field probably can relate a lot to this because they're seeing people who are often thrown away. But when you get to know the person, I took this 2-week peer support training class. And one of the reasons I was so excited about it, I knew everybody who was there had a story of recovery.
Mm.
And we didn't talk about it until the end of the week. And like, I fell in love with everybody. I'm like, they're so cool. And then when they started sharing their stories, like there are people who were like homeless and they prostituted themselves, people who were on hard drugs, just all these things. And like, you see them now. And I'm like, if I would have got that story first, I would have put a label on them and not taken time to get to know them. Done very well.
Yeah, I know. I do that too. Like, just sometimes I don't have the capacity, it feels like, to be curious. I think it takes up a lot of energy. So sometimes it really helps just to put a label on something. I'm not saying that's good, but to get out of cognitive dissonance or whatever the case may be, just to say that's right, that's X, instead of realizing that it's much more complicated, that real person.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing I always have to remind myself is to be, when I say I have to be curious, that also means with people who seem to be quick to judge. Be curious, why do they feel like they need to take this stance? Which is kind of a segue to our next clip, where, so to set up this next scene, Ted is meeting with this reporter who is, he can be pretty harsh and tough. And the two of them are at this restaurant. I'll just let you see what happens.
Right, gentlemen. You know what you're having?
Yeah, well, whatever the chef recommends.
That'd be my father-in-law. Are you okay with a little bit of spice?
Have him make it for us like we're a couple members of the family.
You're a brave man. Oh, man.
That might not be the wisest of choices.
Here you go, boys. Dig in.
Can't wait. Smell's already deep inside my brain.
Gonna love it.
Oh, appreciate it.
I can't imagine they have good Indian food in Kansas.
Oh, I have no idea. I've never had Indian food. Ooh. Ooh. Wow. That's hot. Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. I feel like I'm about to breathe fire.
I don't think I can eat that.
No. Come on now. We got to put a decent dent in this, otherwise we're going to embarrass Holly in front of his family.
No, really, I can't.
Well, hey, come on. Just dump it on mine. Yep. Yeah, you can go.
So if you love Kansas so much, why did you leave to coach a sport that you can barely you know anything about? Was it just the money?
Wait, I'm supposed to be getting paid?
Are you enjoying the food?
Tell your father-in-law it's perfect.
Dad, he says it's perfect.
Ted, what you're doing is irresponsible. This club actually means something to this town.
I know that. I do. Trent, what do you love?
Is it writing?
Yes.
Yeah, well, good, because you're darn good at it.
Thank you.
Welcome. Me? I love coaching. Now, I'm going to say this again, just so you didn't think it was a mistake the first time I said it. For me, success is not about the wins and losses. It's about helping these young fellas be the best versions of themselves on and off the field. And it ain't always easy, Trent, but neither is growing up without someone believing in you. Let me ask you this. Is my tongue still in my mouth? Because I am about to hallucinate from all the heat here.
I really should go. Deadlines and all.
Well, yeah, you gotta do the work. Hey, I'll say this, though. I really enjoyed getting to spend this time with you, Trent.
You actually mean that, don't you?
No.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, yeah. Normally, one dish is plenty, but we know how you Americans like to eat, innit?
Let's do it, huh?
Try that one.
Woo!
Beautiful, right?
Yeah, it's beyond beautiful. It's hot.
Oh, for somebody who does not like spices, good for him.
Yeah, he really goes out there on that one. It's painful to watch, right?
Yeah.
You like took a drink of water just now.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Yeah, I was feeling the heat.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many things I like about that. I like that he cared about what the waiter, his opinion, like how it was related to his family. And you saw he was right. Like he got really excited when Ted said it was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I
He
also
calls his father-in-law dad.
Yeah.
I like that. Where he doesn't just call, like, we have that. I wish that we had a better word for that in English for father-in-law. Like, how about dad, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I love it how he's like, Dad, he likes it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. No, I really enjoyed that too. And then just that connection Ted drives between him and this reporter, where you can see Ted kind of breaking down the wall, and also by both of them kind of being curious, you get all this sense out of what they're doing. And I love Ted's angle of it is like, it's not just about the win or lose. It's about helping these guys be the best they can on and off the field.
Yeah. And he slips in there too, some vulnerability with saying that, he didn't have a father figure in his life.
Yes.
And so it kind of gets the why. Like that's kind of the mission that he's on, is to help young men who have that void. He wants to fill that in and help them to be better.
Yeah. I love that. And it's always with my current job, I'm an employee specialist. And before I start working with the people I work with to like practice interviewing skills or creating their resume, I'm like, the first thing we have to work on is your confidence, because you need to know you can do this. You need to know that like you're capable far more than you think you can.
Mm-hmm.
And just and for me, I know before I could believe in myself, I did need somebody else to believe in me first before I got there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's probably the case for most of us. Maybe everybody. I don't know. I would say the same thing, that I needed someone to believe in me before I believed in myself.
Yeah, definitely. And other thing I like that I also like that there's so many angles Ted is caring for people. He's caring about the feelings of the waiter, but he's also respectful that Trent can't take any more of it. So instead of being like, no, you got to eat it. You got to eat it. He's like, okay, here, just put it on my plate.
Yeah. Yeah. He doesn't push him to accept his sort of like, we're going to help make this guy look good. If Trent's not on board, he's like, all right, just put it over here. And then on top of that, Trent doesn't even see that gets seconds after Trent leaves, which is really like thirds or fourths.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Have you ever been in a situation where you've had to like scarf down a meal to be, kind of respectful?
Yeah, definitely. I've definitely eaten things that were not my favorite at all because someone put a lot of loving care into the food. I wish I'd done that more growing up. I know there were plenty of times that I just complained after my mom worked really hard on making something.
Yeah.
But can't go back there for that. So
Yeah.
there have been times, I think, never where I felt like I was harming myself by eating so much spicy food. I love it when Trent's like, "This is what you're doing is irresponsible." And for a second, you're like,
Yeah, I know.
you don't know what he's talking about. It seems like he's talking about the food.
Hmm.
It goes on to say, just playing around with this coach position. This team means so much to so many people.
Yeah.
But I think, what do you think? Ted's aware of his, his role and people looking up to him, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Like, that's why it matters so much that he likes the food. If he was just a random person, that the taxi driver, Uber driver had taken, if it was just a random person, which he says he invites all kinds of people,
Hmm.
it probably would have meant something, but not nearly as much as when it's the head coach of the city's football team. So
Yeah.
he recognizes that it will be add honor to this.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. That it's also like him living up to his responsibility of the power he holds.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good.
I think he's aware of it. He's not going to act like he's a big thing, but he knows that the position that he's in is a super important one and means a lot to the people around him.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I also really like that, he was talking about, you kind of mentioned this a little bit, like helping them be the best they can on and off the field. He's like, it's not always easy. And I like that, kind of jumping off what you're saying, he's aware of his role. He also is aware that some people just couldn't wait to get rid of him.
Yeah.
But he's holding course because he knows what he's doing is the right thing.
And that some teammates or some of the not teammates, but some of the players he's coaching are not going to probably take to him.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reality. I think probably with your job as well and my job, either when I was a pastor or now where I work with homeless folks just getting off the streets, there's a lot of them that are just not going to be in that place where they're ready to accept coaching. And I think he's probably aware of that. And that's probably even the harder part, because you really love the people that you know.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That's one thing I've been growing on, is because when I feel like I'm doing something good, I'm like, everybody should see this and just think it's great. And then if somebody's ever like, oh, I don't like that, I'm like, what? Well, I'm so sorry you're living in wrong, Phil, but that's not my problem.
Is it Phil? It's always Phil, isn't it?
I hate Phil.
Phils are the worst, aren't they? They're going to always just bring something negative to you.
I know. Every time. Next 20 minutes just becomes a hate-filled Phil rant.
Yeah.
Another thing about Phil. I feel that's something you're good at, not hating Phil, but
I have some good friends named Phil,
so believing in people and being okay with where they're at. And I think that's a really difficult thing.
Yeah, I don't know if you're okay with where they're at. I guess I'm not really okay with where a lot of people are at, but one of the things I learned when I worked with Alzheimer's patients, I worked there for just 6 months or something like that when I was in seminary. And my first couple of days, it was so sad to me, because there are all these people who, have all these wonderful life stories, these families, careers, and they don't remember any of it. And they are sometimes really inconsolable. At other times, they're just doing the same thing over and over and just repetitively, even though they hold a PhD in something, you find out later. So I thought this might be too much for me. It's too sad. I don't know if I can deal with this, until I got to the point where I realized the best thing I can do is live with people in the moment right now, which also led me to lie quite a bit. It turns out. I found out they do this in Germany in a more subtle way, where they have in their Alzheimer's units, they would actually let the residents go out to a bus stop, but it's a fake bus stop. So a lot of times people from their youth are trying to get to the bus stop. And in the unit that I was in, it was locked down. I was in the States, in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and you couldn't get outside. But in Germany, they found that their residents were less agitated when they could go and wait at the bus stop.
Yeah.
It was a fake bus stop. So in a sense, it was a lie, but it really helps. It helped them to calm down eventually. After sitting there for a while, they're like, oh, where am I? And then they're able to go back in, lead them back in. So sometimes I would lie to people, even, which seems like a very not Christian thing to do, or not ethical thing to do, but sometimes someone just needed to know that their dad loved them and was going to come by and get them in a little bit.
Yeah.
So they were 90, and you know that their dad is long gone.
Yeah.
So I guess I learned to live in the moment in a way that I was never 100% okay with that, with Alzheimer's. And I don't know how anyone ever could be. It is heartbreaking. And obviously the closer you are to the person, the more difficult it is. But there is that opportunity, I think, still to just be present. So my job where I'm at, there's a lot of people who are still on drugs. It's harm reduction. So they're still in that place where they don't really want to give that up, but they'll still laugh at a joke.
Yeah.
Right? So, and you are really good at that too. You're fantastic at finding humor and talking to people in a way. I even used one of your King of the Hill references that talked about getting out there to the women's prison day after day, and waiting for one of them to come and see you.
Yeah.
But I used that with a person there, and it resonated. So.
Yeah. Definitely. I like that perspective, though, just living in the moment. And because I think that's what Ted does a lot. And he's so focused making the best of that moment. I didn't have this in the clip, but before they start eating or ordering, he introduces the waiter to Trent. And when they shake hands, he goes, "Congratulations, you both just met somebody cool."
Yeah, I like that too.
And
a cool person.
Yeah, exactly. And so, overall, Ted Lasso's just such a good show. And it's
especially for people who like coaching, like yourself. What a gold mine.
Yeah, exactly. I could do many episodes on this. So, and if you ever decide to come back, we can do another couple parts. Although I will say, another show I was looking at was Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. That was another one, but in the end, I went with this one because you were the one who got me into it. So I was like, that seems fitting.
Did you remember that I liked Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist?
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep.
I remembered that.
Oh yeah. That's part of the reason I like this podcast, is that I just have always seen so much connection to the world through media. I've always used shows to like tell a story or to set up a point that I don't think I could have done properly on my own. So hearing what people like, to me, it's like, oh, there's a reason behind why they like it. And then it makes me want to watch it even more to be like, what is it that they like about this? I think it's so cool.
That's really cool. I really like to hear that.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to cover before we start wrapping up?
About the Ted Lasso
Yeah.
clips?
Yep. Or anything in general.
Well, I mean, what do you think kept Ted going?
I think so. Speaking of always using references, I'm going to use one now. I kind of think there was this Batman animated movie, and Batman is fighting Deadshot, who is basically like this master marksman. And I think they're on this train, and Deadshot's about to shoot at Batman, and then Batman just runs straight at him, and Deadshot shoots him twice. And Deadshot goes, well, that's the first time I've ever seen somebody stop a bullet by running into it. And then eventually Batman takes him down. And afterwards, he's getting patched up by Alfred. And Bruce is sitting in there looking at a family portrait of him and his parents. He goes, Alfred, I think my whole life I've been trying to stop those two bullets. And I kind of feel like that's what Ted's doing. He has felt the pain of not having somebody to believe in him. So he's never going to stop. Because in a way, I think he's just trying to give that to himself. What's your take?
Well, when you said Batman, I thought you were going to say Robin.
Oh, yeah.
And that for me is one of the key things. For instance, Beard is the Robin to Ted's Batman show. And Beard is someone who's a constant reminder of a person who has been a success story in a way, right? Like person who Ted loved on and who has now returned that love and also has made a turn in his life to be for the better, right?
Yeah.
And I wonder if Beard is a big part of what helps steady Ted.
Yeah.
Helps to keep him motivated. So that's just a thought, but I think maybe both of those things, right? Batman needs the fuel of his trauma being turned into, positive use to stop that from anyone ever experiencing again. But also he needs Alfred and Robin because they're the ones who help him when he's weak. Yeah.
Still having that support system around you. It's kind of that show me your friends and I will show you your future. Yeah, that's cool. I like that angle.
I think the work that you're doing and the work that I'm doing and the work that Batman and Ted are doing is let's just throw ourselves in there with them.
Yeah, why not?
It's like same, basically. We're doing the same. Not at all, but I mean, both of our jobs can be tiring.
Yeah.
So, and they can be, just burnout central if we don't have our why, we don't have our supports that keep us going.
Yeah. And I think too, I think one thing I always talk about, and I think about this with like relating to people. So John C. Reilly, he played Dr. Cox in The Scrubs. Hey, editing Joe here. Correction, it wasn't John C. Reilly. It is John C. McGinley who actually plays Dr. Cox. And he always talks about people can see through the bullcrap. See through the bullcrap. If you're not performing in a way that's authentic, they'll see through it.
Yeah.
And I feel that for myself, that I can't have an ego coming into this. I have to have a genuine, I just want to care for this person. I don't want to be the salvation to this person. I want to give them support so they can see they can do this. And just have to be like really authentic, or like you're saying, be in the moment. Because if I'm not being authentic with them or being in the moment, they're going to see past it. They're going to see past the bull crap, just like Ted. I mean, he's authentic. And like, I mean, with Trent, when they were wrapping up and he was like, it was good to spend this time with you. And Trent's like, you really mean that, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah, Trent's cynical, but he can spot a fake, right?
Yes. Yes.
So he totally. Yeah. Would you say that you're like Ted as far as positivity goes?
I mean, I don't think I can quite reach that mountain, but I feel like I'm pretty positive most of the time.
Yeah.
And I also feel like I'm positive in the sense that I'm also willing to embrace the tough times.
Yeah.
And that sometimes I can be positive even when I'm not going through the best situation.
Yeah.
Sometimes
I think of you as being more in touch with yourself than Ted.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
you're more vulnerable
Mhm.
and also just more aware.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely a lot of self-awareness. Pretty cool attribute of me. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I think like over time, I think just kind of I see the journey that's led me here. And because, I always think about when I first started my job workforce, like back when I was 15. The first job I was at, I did not say a single word to anyone for the first year. Yeah, was so shy. I worked at kid stuff, so I would just come in, not say anything, but then I'd go play with the kids and have fun doing that. And yeah, very self-conscious, very worried about myself. And then, I started after I started to recover. I kind of started to have a new outlook on life and went to Foxtrot Marketing, where I became a manager, and I really had to be outgoing. I really had to like learn how to work with people. And through positivity, I saw how that changed the culture. And then I brought that with me and just have been, it's kind of like a snowball now that it's just going, it's getting bigger and bigger. And everywhere I go, I'm like, okay, here's some more positives. Here's some more positives. But I always make sure I step away from, I never want to be like, everything's fine all the time. Everything's perfect. Everything's great. Because sometimes it's not.
Yeah. I love that about you, though, that you're very in touch with yourself and vulnerable, and people can let their guard down.
Oh, thanks.
It gives them an opportunity to be them when you're you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's well said. Yeah, and I feel that with you too. Like I feel really relaxed, and it's nice when you have somebody like that where you're not worried about what you're going to say or anything. You're just like, I can just be with this dude.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good vibe when you're in that relationship, or when you're in a job where you can be that way. At my current job, I'm like relentlessly positive, almost to a fault, perhaps, because I'm not in charge, so I'm not like managing anyone.
Yeah.
So I can just come into work and I'm like, hey everybody, it's another day, and they're like, oh boy, turn it down.
Yeah, but sometimes that's
a little too much. It's like I catch myself thinking like, this is a little bit almost a parody of who I am. But
yeah, sure.
It's not, though. It's genuine. It's just
that,
I don't know. I'm happy to be there.
Yeah.
I like what I'm doing. I like my coworkers, and even if I annoy the heck out of them, I even like that.
Yeah.
It's funny to me, at least. So they're like getting annoyed, and I'm just like, oh, what a little sweetheart this person is annoyed with me.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's funny how I always think about, I had this one coordinator coordinator I worked with, and she just was like the most sassy person in the world. And I kind of picked up that's just kind of how she showed she cared.
Yeah.
And so I found it when I recognized that, I found everything hilarious. Like she would give me the worst burns. And like I just found it hilarious. And I never wanted to give it back.
Yeah.
But I relished in it because I'm like, that's who you are. You're being yourself with me. And I couldn't ask for anything more.
Yeah, it's like that's how you would be at home. Like that's how you'd be with your family or someone that you're close with.
Yeah. So yeah, very cool. And yeah, well, I think even though you may not see it right away, I think that positivity makes a difference.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like not being in a leadership role makes it easier to kind of step into that. Because I don't know about you, because you kind of came from a lot of responsibility being a pastor, and I came from a lot of responsibility of being a production warehouse manager, but I kind of don't miss that management part. Like
the load.
Yeah, it's like a load off my shoulders. I'm like, I'm just worrying about old Joe, and that's it.
Yeah, it's a lot to carry, and especially if you really care and you want to do a good job, then even more so.
Yeah.
So it's fantastic when you have a little space to be yourself, to come down, recollect yourself, and maybe you'll step into a management role again where it's, warehouse management style pressure, but at least you'll do that knowing what you're getting into. And
yeah, exactly. So I have 3 questions I always ask every guest. Now it varies a little bit depending on what kind of clips we watch. So since these, they had some humor in them, but they weren't strictly comedic episodes. So I'm going to switch it a little bit. And which one of the 2 clips did you just think was like the coolest to watch, where you're like, oh man, that's just awesome to see Ted like this?
Man, I really love the barbecue sauce bullseye where and I wondered about why he said that later. I heard from someone, or it was on the show, where he says that right before you kick the winning goal or make the winning shot, think of something that brings you joy. And right before he throws the final dart, it's barbecue sauce.
Yeah.
It's totally being himself. And then I also love a good party. We just mentioned that I like to DJ.
Yep.
So of course, afterwards, where he tells Rebecca, okay, we have to do one more thing.
Yep.
It's like, what is it? You got to buy rounds for everybody. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that one resonates with me a little bit more because it hits on more of my loves. Although the meeting with Trent Krim is also very beautiful in its own way, but it's just painful to watch him eat all that food.
Yeah, definitely. At the beginning of the episode, I would have thought I would have gone with the darts, but through talking about it, I now am on the meeting with Trent, just because thinking about some of the things you said about, like, his role as like the head coach of this team, like his opinion has more weight, and just seeing the multiple ways Ted's caring for people, around him was, and just, and I feel like I've been in experiences like that where somebody who's like very skeptical or reserved, and when you kind of get this in with them, you get this moment of authentic relationship. I think it's so cool.
Yeah, there's no wrong answer. Both of those clips.
Yeah, exactly.
Fire.
So second question is, which clip did you feel like we got more out of? Like, you feel like you learned a lot more than you expected?
I think the second one also, I think we spent a little more time on it and broke it down a little bit more in a couple different ways. So I'd agree with you on that was a good thing to reflect on. I appreciate all the things that are going on in a simple scene like that.
Yes, I agree. I definitely got a lot more out of that than I was expecting. And it's always, that's one thing I really like about this. Somebody will point something out and I'm like, I never thought about that. Like, I never thought about he's the head of this team that people love. Like, yes, his opinion matters. And yeah, so I thought that was really cool to think about. Final question is, if we had to do a deep dive on one of the clips and just like dissect the heck out of it, which clip would you rather do that with?
The second one's better for that, because the first one, there are too many parts being curious about it, which I was, especially given the context.
Yeah.
There were too many parts that kind of broke down when I was thinking about it. Like, why did he wait? Did he wait until his very last turn to win? Did he wait because he knew he was going to win?
Yeah.
Or did he just perform so? And right now he's pulling it together. I wasn't sure about that. And I also wasn't sure because he sort of sets Rupert up and he's sort of trying to get him to, and we missed that part of the clip, but at the very beginning, Rupert asks him if he likes darts, and he's like, I'm more of a cornhole man. And then he throws a dart, and it's kind
of the hustle. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a little bit of a hustle. So
yeah,
it kind of falls apart a little bit.
Yeah.
If I'm honest, 100%. So I have to just look past that and be like, no, I'm going to just focus on the part that we watched.
Yeah. I agree. I think the second one I would definitely rather do a deep dive with. So very good clips. I'm glad you got me into it. And if you haven't listening to this, if you haven't watched Ted Lasso, go watch it. Do yourself a favor. It's a great show. You won't regret it.
Mm-mm.
So I usually will ask people too, like if people listen to this episode and they're like, dang, this Adam guy's super cool. Are you open for people like reaching out to you, finding you on social media, or booking you for a DJ?
Oh, they're looking for a DJ?
Or
I need to update my website.
Yeah.
It's not good, Joe. It's really bad. It's really bad. But it's Funky Turtle DJ. So if you're in the Twin Cities area and you need a DJ who does not have as good of a mustache as Ted Lasso, carries a little bit of that vibe, then look me up, Funky Turtle.
Yes. Great DJ. I've seen him in action. So definitely worth it. And you get the cool guy edition with it. The other thing I always tell people is, you get not only good DJ, but a cool guy.
Are you coming with? Is this what
yeah, I just come and hang out in the corner.
You said you were DJing. Was that all fiction, Joe?
After you dropped those sick beats on me, I've retired.
That was too short. You can't give up like that.
You're right.
You're the future
of DJing.
Yes.
That's my new career.
The future of DJing, period.
The other thing I'll tell people, you can also just put something in the comments, because I forgot to tell you this. We're also going to be putting these on YouTube as well. So it'll be podcast and YouTube. So you can, if you're on YouTube, you can leave a comment, just be like, hey, this guy's really cool, or I want to hear more from you. That's really cool. For me, I have a second podcast called Two Voices, One Story. It's where my wife and I talk about really personal experiences we've gone through and just kind of trying to be open and authentic about mental health and things that people often don't feel like they can talk about. So
a few cameos from Editor Joe.
Yes. Just so you know, if you haven't listened to it, just behind the scenes, Rachel and I, we treat Editing Joe as a third person.
Even I feel like he is. Even though I know it's you, I feel like Editor Joe is like, it's a third person.
Yeah, we very much intentionally set that up, because the first time I started editing and we did that, I'm like, kind of like this. I kind of feel like they're two people too now I'm working with. Mm-hmm. So every time I'm like, hey, Editing Joe, you got to do this. And it's helpful. So I like it.
I really appreciated those podcasts. So,
well, thank you.
Good work, Rachel.
Thank you.
The unsung hero, because she's not in the room right now, but
yeah,
I loved her being vulnerable and honest and bringing herself to the game. So
yeah, she's great. She's the magic sauce of the podcast. I'm the eye candy. which
the
is
eye candy.
which is why it's on a
I
podcast.
was gonna say.
You don't get it. What poor quality of candy it is.
Although you are in the cover photo, like
That's true.
and it doesn't look like you exactly, neither of you exactly,
Right.
Because it's like stylized.
Yeah, exactly.
You're both sort of AI versions of yourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Exactly.
like the real yous, but I'm partial.
Yeah, that's true. Well, thank you so much, Adam, for doing this with me. I really appreciate it. Loved having you on.
I love you. You're a good man.
Right back at you. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.